A 9-year-old girl gets into her rental car with her mother on October 7th. Both are wearing wigs. The mother switches out the California license plates for a fake New York plate somewhere along a 3,000-mile road trip that stretches from California to Nebraska and back. 3 days later, the mother returns home alone. The child vanished. The mother completely silent, invoking her constitutional right not to cooperate. And here's what's making this case a legal nightmare. Law enforcement can't even confirm what crime, if any, has been committed. But tonight we're going to show you how prosecutors could use a strategy that worked in one of the most infamous missing children cases in recent memory, the Lori Vallow case, to force Ashlee Buzzard's hands. It's a legal maneuver that doesn't require proving murder, doesn't need a body, and forces a parent into a binary choice: produce your child or face the consequences. Welcome to the docket presented by Defense Diaries. I'm your host, Bob Motta, and as always, I am joined by my beautiful and brilliant co-host, Ali. What's up, girl?
Hey, babe. Hey, all.
So, Ali, we've got this developing case tonight that's really testing the limits of what law enforcement can do when a parent refuses to cooperate in a missing child investigation. This is the Melodee Buzzard case out of Santa Barbara County, California. It's an active, ongoing FBI investigation that's got some of the most complex legal and investigative challenges I've seen in recent memory, since really Vallow.
Yeah. And babe, what makes this so legally fascinating, and I say that with all the gravity this situation deserves. I mean, we're watching investigators try to build a case when they literally cannot confirm that a crime has occurred. The mother has every constitutional right to remain silent, and she's exercising that right. But somewhere in this timeline, a 9-year-old disappeared.
Yeah. So tonight we're going to walk through what we know factually, what we don't know, the procedural challenges law enforcement is facing. And then we're going to deep dive into a legal strategy that California might be able to use, a strategy that was successfully deployed in Idaho against Lori Vallow when her children, JJ and Tylee, went missing. It's a mechanism that bypasses many of the evidentiary problems prosecutors face in missing children cases.
Absolutely. So, but I want to be clear up front. Ashlee Buzzard has not been charged with any crime. She's presumed innocent. So what we're doing tonight is examining the evidence that's publicly available, the legal framework that applies, and the tools prosecutors have or don't have in a case like this. And I'm sorry, babe, I was pulling up the timeline that the sheriff's department put out because I'd like to share that with everyone as you start to go
it's pretty good.
the
It's
facts.
a pretty good one. Yeah, I think we just keep that thing up for, a hot minute. What do you think? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, how you doing with it? Pretty good?
It's coming. You can start.
All right. I guess what's taking you so long?
Well, I was trying to put it as an image like the way I did it yesterday.
Just throw it up. Just throw it up there. Like, it's the easy way to do it. Like, you're making it. It's not like we have a bunch of images. I wish we had the image that was on the thumb, because that's a good image. All right, so let's start with what we know, the facts, and from what we've been able to gather on October 14th of 2025. Uh, and I think I did a little research in terms of how to pronounce this so that I'm not bombarded in chat. I believe it's Lompoc is how they prefer to pronounce it out there. Unified School District reported 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard missing to the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office after her prolonged absence from, and she's homeschooled, but we'll get into that later. And that report triggers an investigation that is now expanded to involve the FBI and multiple state and local agencies across at least 8 states.
So let's establish a timeline. Here's what investigators have been able to piece together. On October 7th, 2025, Ashlee Buzzard, 35 years
You
old.
make that a little bigger?
Well, I can make it bigger, but then it cuts out because it goes down. So
I know, but maybe we go. Well, I mean, I just want people to be able to see it. That's yeah. All right.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, maybe people can see it, but I mean, somebody on their phone's never going to be able to see that, but whatever. All right. Sorry.
All right, let me see. Because I have to scroll down now. So this is, let me just start with this. So this is something the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office produced. Melodee Buzzard at risk, missing 9-year-old. So this was the original photo and the verified sighting available at the onset of the investigation. But it looks like the photos from 2023. In August of 2025, did we decide it's Lompoc?
Lompoc.
Lompoc Unified School District verified a sighting. So on October 7th, there was a verified sighting of Melodee and Ashlee beginning of a road trip to Nebraska where Ashlee returned to Lompoc.
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 Yeah, so it rhymes with bomb and then poke.
Lompoc. Okay. Traveling through Kansas. And she started with a California plate with this rental car. On October 10th, Ashlee returns to Lompoc without Melodee.
Lompoc. You can do it. You can do it. I practiced it a few times. It's a weird name. It's another weird name. Another weird town name.
All right. So then I'll leave the rest of this up while I go through it in more detail here. All right. So October 7th, 2025, Ashlee Buzzard, she's 35 years old. She rents a white 2024 Chevy Malibu, again with a California license plate. That same day, surveillance footage captures Ashlee and Melodee at the rental car location, both wearing wigs. Melanie's wig appeared darker and straighter than her natural curly brown hair. This detail is significant because it suggests premeditation and an intent to disguise their appearances. However, it is noteworthy that Ashlee is sort of known to wear wigs. Like, that's her thing, So I think that's just important to note. But now, something I don't have any sort of innocent explanation for, but we're going to make some pontificate later on. But on October 8th, the rental vehicle is observed traveling with a New York license plate. And that was, in case anyone out there is going to be looking, well, she's got the rental back, so it doesn't matter. New York license plate that does not belong to the vehicle and is not registered to Ashlee. So obviously authorities believe this was a false plate used to avoid detection during the road trip. This they don't consider to be a minor detail. Acquiring and affixing a false license plate is a deliberate act that shows consciousness of something, whether consciousness of guilt or just extreme privacy concerns. We don't know yet, but it's not normal.
Yeah. And then on the 9th, this is the last confirmed sighting of Melodee, and that's via a surveillance camera that's near the Colorado-Utah border. After this point in time, there have been no verified visual confirmations, at least what they were aware of, that Melody is alive.
Right.
And then on the 10th, Ashlee returns back to Lompoc, California with the rental car. The vehicle now has the original California plate on it, and Melody is not with her. And this is day zero for the investigation in many ways. The moment when Melody's physical presence can no longer be confirmed. And do you want me to pull up this video? I've got kind of
Sure.
a short one. I think it's good because it kind of gives us the
All right. So then while you're pulling that up,
clears down.
I'll just note that I'll pull mine down.
And I'll
On
pull
October
this.
14th, 4 days after Ashlee returned, Melody is reported missing by the Lompoc Unified School District
Lompoc.
Damn it. Lompoc. Oh gosh. So, I don't know, but
I'm just correcting you to save you because otherwise we'll start seeing it in the chat. Like
right.
people,
But either way, from October 10th to the 14th, Ashley's back home without Melody and apparently gave, no indication to the school or authorities that anything was wrong. So,
Okay.
yeah, let's start that video.
So there she is. She's absolutely adorable. Like the most adorable. So, I mean, she looks significantly younger in this picture than what we're about to see, which is some of the stills, I believe, from the video at the rental car place.
Right, and it's worth noting, pause real quick, sorry, babe, that the father has since deceased, and we'll get into that, but his family has not had contact with Ashlee in years,
Yeah.
and mom is not cooperating with authorities, so Bob and I figured this might be the last picture that the father's family had of the child, and maybe, again, that's just us speculating, but maybe that's why they only have this young picture.
Yeah, or it's from back in elementary school when she went to elementary school before the homeschooling started. They go to the school, they're like, we need the yearbooks, and this was the picture. So it's clearly, as you'll see, is a much older picture.
The search for the missing 9-year-old girl from Santa Barbara. New surveillance images show Melody Buzzard and her mother, Ashlee, the day they rented a car to go to Nebraska and Kansas. And Melody is believed to be wearing a wig. Meantime, her mom is known to wear wigs. Investigators say when they rented a white 2024 Chevy Malibu on October 7th with California license plates, but the next day it was seen with New York plates. When Ashlee returned the car, the California plates were back on. Now, based on the movement of the vehicle, detectives believe they drove through Rancho Cucamonga on around October 9th.
I don't like to be I have no idea how she was able to get all that distance in that short period of time. It's crazy to me. It's like that is a long ass drive. Like, and I just don't see, like, unless she's driving through, like straight through, like the whole way. Like,
Right,
to me,
because
it's crazy.
because we'll tell them how law enforcement pieced together the route.
Okay, so law enforcement is able to put together parts of the route based on surveillance footage, cell tower data, and other investigative methods. The investigators believe that the vehicle traveled through or near Green River, Utah, Panguitch, and I'm sure I'm butchering that, Utah, Northwest Arizona, Prim, Nevada, and Rancho Cucamonga, California, on the return trip back to Lompoc. So the destination appears to have been somewhere in the Nebraska area based on the rental car records and the roughly 3,000-mile road trip distance. But here's the critical gap in the timeline between the 9th of October, when Melody is last seen on the surveillance near the Colorado-Utah border, and October 10th, when Ashlee returned alone back to Lompoc. We have roughly a 24-hour window where investigators don't know what happened. And 3,000 miles, dude. Like, we have taken the trip where we drove from Illinois to Arizona. And I think that was like 2,200 miles. And that took us 3 days. Obviously, we were stopping to sleep. But imagine trying to drive 3,000 miles in that time frame.
But she's on the way back. Wait. No, because she just picked up the car.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that the rental takes place. I guess that's a really good question. Does the rental takes place in California, right?
I mean, not based on these hours that you're saying. Let
I
me
mean,
go
the
back to
shit
this
seems
little.
crazy. That
All right.
seems
So
insanely
verified
crazy.
sighting of Melody and Ashlee beginning the road trip to Nebraska. So that's October 7th that she begins the road trip.
Okay.
And where Ashlee returned to Nebraska, where Ashlee returned to Lompoc, traveling through Kansas. October 10th, Ashlee returns without Melody. So maybe it's supposed to be October 9th. You know, I do have, and I can pull it up right now, the most recent like press release from the sheriff's office. We also have the FBI. This one's October.
Okay, so she rents it in Lompoc on October 7th. So that's in stone. Okay. The problem for me still is how she gets back by the 10th.
All right, so let's do this. This is what we're going to do. I'm making that decision. I'm going to share and read the sheriff's
Presser.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, buddy. The guy was snoring.
Wait. I'm sharing my texts.
Wow.
Oh God.
Wow.
All right. Hold on.
You are amazing. You're
Amazing.
Amazing. This is,
But where's the guy just I know why. Sorry. Because it's on.
You're doing
the
great,
interwebs.
babe. You're doing great.
Oh Lord. Okay, because it's on the I didn't do it as a PDF. I have it on the actual website. Okay. All right. All right. So this is an update from November 3rd. Update and ongoing search for Melody Buzzard. Investigative focus on October 9th. Travel route. Lompoc, California. You want to read, babe? Is he gone? All right. So I shall read. Where was I? Here it is. Okay. Santa Barbara County Sheriff detectives are sharing additional information, a route map and photo that includes Ashlee Buzzard in their ongoing search for missing at-risk 9-year-old Melody Buzzard. The Santa Barbara County office began investigating on October 14th when a school administrator reported Melody's prolonged absence. Deputies attempted to locate Melody and her mother, Ashlee, at their residence in Lompoc, California, but were only able to speak with Ashlee, who provided no verifiable explanation for Melody's whereabouts. A search of the residence confirmed that Melody was not there. Ashlee has remained uncooperative and has not confirmed Melody's location or welfare. Through their investigations, detectives have confirmed that Ashlee left California with Melody in a white 2024 Chevrolet Malibu, initially bearing California license plate, and they provide the number, on October 7th, 2025. So that's October 7th. Detectives believe that Ashlee and Melody traveled as far as Nebraska with a return trip that included Kansas. Beginning October 8th, 2025, the Malibu was observed with a New York license plate. It is unknown when the plate was installed or whether additional plates were used at other times during travel. The New York plate seen on the car does not belong to the vehicle or Ashlee. Investigators believe it was used as a false or switched plate to avoid detection. When the vehicle was returned to the rental agency in Lompoc, California, the assigned California plate was on the vehicle. Detectives have now confirmed that Melody was last seen along the return route via video surveillance on October 9th, 2025, in the region between the Colorado-Utah border. Investigators are working to fill gaps in the timeline for that date and are working with law enforcement agencies in Colorado, Utah, Arizona, Nevada, and South California for assistance in reaching the members of their community. Investigators believe the Malibu traveled through the following areas on or around October 9th. So Green River, Utah, this other town that Bob said, I think we're going with
Don't be afraid to say the town names and butcher them up.
Panguitch, Utah.
Yeah, Panguitch.
Mhm.
That's what it looks like to me.
Northwest Arizona, Prim,
That
Nevada.
one's easy, and you butchered it though.
Northwest Arizona, Prim, Nevada, Rancho Cucamonga, California. So that's where they traveled, babe, from October 9th, like until the 10th. Though that's the distance that was
Here,
traveled.
blow that map up so I could see that route. So somebody said, because
as big as I can make it.
Here's where, dude, like this is where I'm getting so confused. I don't get how, because so where is Green River, Utah? Is that's got to be way southern Utah.
All right, so I blew this up now. Is that
Green River, Utah is almost like central Utah. And let's see, I want to put in, did they say where in Nebraska?
I blew it up. Can't you see it?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I'm blind as shit. Where do they say they went to in Nebraska? Do they give what town? Do they give a town in Nebraska?
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, Panguitch, Rancho Cucamonga, and Lompoc. All
it
great.
Just said traveled as far as Nebraska.
Okay, so that's
Nebraska's
super broad.
pretty small, right?
No, it's long. It's kind of like your home state, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania's big.
That's what I mean.
Oh,
like Nebraska's, it's a rectangle. It's long.
Look, she drove
like
right through
be in
St.
Omaha,
George.
and then there was a whole thing. So yeah, I don't, because here's what I'm trying to see. I'm just trying to see if what is going on.
This will not get turned into a YouTube episode.
Yeah, I think it will. I think it's fine. I mean, we're just looking at some shit. So yeah, I all right. Well, let's keep like the timing does not make sense to me, and that's
even you're saying from Green River, Utah to Lompoc, California.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. So
well, someone in the chat can tell us how long the drive is from Green River, Utah.
Somebody said it was. Well, somebody said from Lompoc to Nebraska is 21 hours.
Right. But now we're just talking about Green River, Utah to Lompoc.
Yeah, because here's what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't feel like, God, my phone is just sucking. I think my phone is like officially crapping out because I can't even pull up the map.
All right, well, let me read the rest of the.
All right, keep rolling.
The sheriff's office is sharing a map of the vehicle stops and urges anyone in those communities to check surveillance and report relevant information. Detectives are seeking anyone who may have had contact with Ashlee or Melody at any point from October 9th to the 10th, or any video footage from their route of travel. And there they are again at the rental car agency. Investigators are sharing additional surveillance images of Ashlee and Melody that were captured at a rental car location in Lompoc, California at the start of the road trip on October 7th. Both Ashlee and Melody appear to be wearing wigs, with Melody appearing darker and straighter than her natural hair. Melody Buzzard is described as 9 years old, a 9-year-old female, approximately 4 feet 6 inches tall, 60 pounds, with brown curly hair. So, and then they have the phone number, which maybe I can put this in post this here. As well.
Yeah, 22 hours, 52 minutes to Nebraska. Dude, just like that's in the dead center of Nebraska, since we have no idea where she went. Yeah, I mean, that's like 2 full days if you include stops. You know, like that's 1 full day to get there, 1 full day to get back. I mean, I guess it's doable. I mean, it
Right.
must be doable if they're putting her in these spots, right? I mean, she had to have been able to accomplish it. This is
Yeah.
a confounding case. It really is. It's weird
It's
because
so crazy.
it seemed like she had like a place that she was going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a long way to travel to just intentionally plan to do harm or make your child disappear.
Yeah, especially
like
like you're bringing your phone,
You're
you
renting a
know,
car.
you're renting a car. I mean, all these things are going to leave trails,
And
GPS.
that's why, we want to encourage you guys in chat, but maybe not quite yet when we're not looking. So at a time when we tell you to, but you can be thinking about it now, like ways that you can take these same facts and come up with, an innocent explanation, or an explanation that does not involve mom harming the child.
Right.
So again, you've got this 24 hours, and that's like the entire case. What happened during that time? Where the hell is Melody? Is she alive? If not, what happened to her? I mean, did Ashlee leave her with someone? Did something tragic happen? Why isn't Ashlee talking?
Yeah, why? Like, if she left her with somebody, why isn't that person talking? There's just
Why isn't that person talking? Right. I
right.
mean, obviously everyone can see how this is so like screams comparable right now to Lori Vallow.
Yeah, it's very close. It seems very, except Lori was in Hawaii.
Yeah, living her best life.
Yeah, getting married and shit. All right, so let's talk about what happened after Ashlee returns back to Lompoc, because this conduct, in my estimation, is highly relevant to, God forbid, something horrible has happened to consciousness of guilt. So when she gets back, she's completely uncooperative with law enforcement. She's refused to provide any information about Melody's location, her condition, her well-being, anything. So family members have been reporting that Ashlee has been actively tearing down the missing person posters that of Melody outside and near her home. I saw there was an interview on News Nation last night with who I believe were the biological father's family that were on with them. And they're like, like it was our family putting those up. And you can see her out there literally pulling them out of the ground, gathering them all up. I didn't necessarily see her walk to a garbage can, but I mean, she's pulling them up, which just is weird.
Right. And that to me it speaks of someone who is hiding her location, but she's not gone. Because if she hurt Melody, why would she be acting that way? Again, a mental health condition can play either way in this, and we're going to get into that in a moment. But go on.
Right. So, like, other things that are strange that we typically see, we even see it, and we've seen it recently, where people that have done the harm are still making public appeals for the safe return of their child. She hasn't done that. No public appeals to anybody. She has not reported Melody missing herself, so she hasn't said, "Hey, I need to put a missing persons report in." She hasn't done that, and she just hasn't offered any explanation as to where Melody is at all.
Right. And on October 15th of 2025, so that's one day after the school district reported Melanie missing, the FBI executed a search warrant at Ashlee's residence, which is at the 500 block of Mars Avenue in Vandenberg Village, Lompoc, California.
Hey, you're crushing it now. Look at you.
The involvement of the FBI this early suggests that they believe either there's federal jurisdiction hook, like interstate flight or kidnapping, which we know that she went through all these different states, or that the case requires, federal resources.
Yeah, and then fast forward to the 30th, and they go and get additional search warrants. So they get a warrant for Ashlee's home, which is the second search. They get a warrant for a storage locker, and then they get a warrant for the rental car itself, presumably to be able to process that car, see what they can see in there. Obviously, they're looking for biologicals and things of that nature in that vehicle. So, I mean, at this point, we're what, 6 days in post search?
Right.
Seems like if they
No,
would have found,
that's 15
well, I'm
15
talking
days.
about the one on the 30th. Today's the 6th.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant between the 2 searches. My bad.
No, I'm talking about since the rental car in particular was searched and I'm sure processed, right? I'm sure that's what they were doing with it. Um, it seems like if they had found biologicals in there, like if there had been blood, for instance,
There had
in
been
that
anything.
vehicle, not anything. I mean, if her hair is in there, they know that she was in the car.
Well,
But
right.
in particular, anything that would seem nefarious, I think that we'd have had another update. Like there would be something like, okay, we're taking her into custody and we'll figure it out from there. We got 72 hours to fucking grill this woman and see what we can get. So, but during that second search, Ashlee was escorted away from the home by FBI agents to allow for a thorough search without her presence. And this is standard procedure, but it also tells us that they wanted to search without her observing exactly what it was that they were focusing on in that house.
Right. And as of tonight, no arrests have been made. This remains classified as a missing person investigation, though it's clear from the resources being devoted to it, like FBI involvement, multi-state coordination, multiple search warrants, that law enforcement is treating this as a potentially criminal case. Now, I want to share the FBI's, but this is what they put out back in October, but I'll still share it. I mean, it's been a month and a day. Oh, almost a month. Almost a
Yeah.
month. All right, and I'm gonna put this poster up separate, but so they have the pictures, they have the map, they have her date of birth is February 10th, 2016. Her hair brown and curly, her eyes brown, her height 4 to 4'6", her weight 60 to 100 pounds. So again, mom's not cooperating.
She is
mom's not
cooperating.
even telling them like what her kid, how tall or how much the kid weighs.
And she's clearly been keeping this child away from everybody. I mean,
Right.
for them to not be able to get any kind of information in terms of like a 6-inch like gap in height is crazy to me.
And 40 pounds from 60 to 100, it's a big deal.
I mean, it's like that picture we're looking at of her where she's clearly looks to be in 3rd or 4th grade to me. And, and then you see her when she's, in that picture where she's sprouted up, she looks like much taller and thinner at that point than she did when she was, whenever
that's
that
like
other
5.
picture was taken. Yeah.
I mean, she's like 5 here. And you're right, that could very well be a
Think she's
school
5
picture.
there? I think that was
5 or
her
6.
elementary school picture.
It could be kindergarten, 5 years old.
Yeah, could be. Could be.
So the remarks is just that her appearance may have changed. She might be wearing wigs. Her hair could be lighter or shorter. Sorry.
Hit that
So
cough button.
details.
Yeah.
The FBI's Los Angeles field office and the sheriff detectives in Santa Barbara County, California, are asking for the public's assistance in locating missing at-risk 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard. Law enforcement authorities attempted to contact Melodee and her mother, Ashlee Buzzard, at their home in Lompoc, California, after a school administrator reported Melodee's prolonged absence from school on October 14, 2025. However, Melodee was not there, and no clear explanation has been provided for her whereabouts. It has been determined that Ashlee left California with Melodee in a white 2024 Chevrolet Malibu, initially with the California plate. On October 7th, the vehicle was determined to be a rental, and it's no longer in her possession. Detectives have now confirmed that Melodee was last seen along the return route via video surveillance on October 9th, 2025, in the region between Colorado-Utah border. Based on vehicle movement, investigators
So that's
believe,
on the way back from Nebraska.
right, which just makes it more strange. So
It makes it way more strange to me.
yeah.
I don't fucking get it, man.
And then they just go through all the places that we spoke to earlier, and also
All
where
right.
to call in
So
the tips.
this is
And
what
then
we've been able to dig up with respect to who Melody and Ashlee are. Okay. Some of the family dynamics and whatever history, and the history is hard to find. Like, we couldn't find anything regarding kind of like employment history at all
I
moving
saw
backward.
something about she may have been like somebody at a school, like an assistant teacher or
But it's
administrator
crazy because you know that the press and the media is fucking like running around like chickens
digging.
with their heads cut off, and like nobody's finding anything. It's really weird. There's something super, super weird about this. All right. So, what we know about Melody, as Ali said, she's 9 years old at the time of the disappearance. They believe that she's somewhere between 4 foot and 4'6", approximately 60 pounds. She's got the brown curly hair, the adorable brown eyes. Educationally speaking, she was previously enrolled at Buena Vista Elementary School in Lompoc, but had been homeschooled for at least, and this is in quotes, the last few years, according to the sheriff's office. In August of 2025, just 2 months before her disappearance, she was enrolled at Mission Valley Independent School in Lompoc for an independent study program. This is worth noting. So why would she re-enroll her in a school program in August if you're planning to take her on a trip that she won't return from just a couple of months later in October? Could it be evidence of non-premeditation, or is she trying to establish a paper trail? I don't know. It seems like an odd thing to do. Like, if you had some kind of nefarious plan in terms of doing something awful to your child, that seems like involving anybody else that is keeping tabs on where your kid is, because if you're doing traditional homeschooling and you're not a part of like an independent school where they're kind of like saying, all right, here's, here's here's lesson plans, and here's all the other shit, like have her doing like an occasional pop in. Maybe they have some kind of like socialization thing going on with this particular independent study program, in order to try to incorporate the socialization side of schooling. But it just seems like a really, really weird
They,
choice.
they have to. It looks like they have to like submit, like you were saying, submit things to the school, and like she hadn't. At least some of the stuff I read, like the mom hadn't done all of that, like in general,
Yeah. Yeah.
But she obviously was checking in somewhere and hadn't checked in for a long time, or it was like she pulled her out of this school she was enrolled in. I mean, I don't know. But as far as
Weird.
family background, so Melody's father was Rubiel, Rubiell, Meza.
Did
What?
you say Misa?
Meza,
Come
sorry.
on, bro.
So he died in a motorcycle crash when Melody was an infant. She was about 6 months old, which would put his death at around 2016. So according to Melody's grandmother, this is what reporting has indicated, and that's Ashlee's mother, Lori Miranda. Ashlee suffered a quote drastic decline in mental health following the father's death. So, you've got a young mother who lost her partner in a very traumatic way, left to raise a baby alone, and reportedly struggling with, mental health issues.
Yeah, and as far as I mean, that's about all we know about this little girl. Now, as far as Ashlee's background and her history, and again, these are all coming from reports by various outlets and local news. Okay, so none of this, in terms of kind of background and these facts that we're giving you, are coming from law enforcement. So I guess I would say take everything with a grain of salt in terms of it hasn't been corroborated by law enforcement. But
Right, and they're getting some of this from like the other family members and
right, like
things like that.
primarily, like this thing that I'm about to get into with you came directly from Ashlee's mother. All right, so but she claims that there was past CPS involvement years ago when Melody was a baby, that California Child Protective Services intervened after the authorities found Ashlee's home in severe disarray with rotten food, unsanitary conditions. Melody was temporarily placed in protective services, but was eventually returned to Ashlee's care. Additionally, there have been, in terms of court records, there's multiple civil cases with creditors that have filed suit alleging that there's unpaid debts that are appearing in the Santa Barbara County court records. And with her and in the family, it's a very weird situation, because according to Melodee's paternal family members, including her aunt Bridget Truitt and her half sister Karina Meza, Ashlee had cut off their contact with Melodee several years ago. Okay. So they report not having seen Melodee in years, despite their attempts to maintain a relationship. So,
And who
Ashlee,
knows?
I mean,
Maybe
it's weird, man.
maybe there's a damn good reason for it. Maybe she had issues with the family. I mean, we don't know. You know?
Yeah, I mean, we don't.
So
That's the thing. So, in terms of kind of like what they've been able to gather in terms of like how Ashlee is, she's, as Ali said, like earlier on, she was known to regularly wear wigs. And we have a couple of friends that like to wear wigs. Like, we have a friend who wore wigs all the time. Like, anytime we go out, she had a different colored wig on, which I thought was pretty cool. But like, I mean, apparently that's something she's into. So, which could explain why this didn't seem unusual at the rental car location, even though, I mean, they wouldn't know if it was a wig or if it was a regular hair unless she rents from there frequently. I
right.
mean, like, how the fuck would they know? Though having Melodee also wear one, little sus.
Right. Like, I think neighbors have spoken about how she always wears wigs, but it sounds like they have no information that like Melodee was also known to wear them. So that part seemed different. And like Bob said, you know, some of these are family allegations, particularly about the past CPS involvement and the condition of the home. They've not been independently verified by law enforcement. They're not in any public statement by, any official. And obviously, we haven't seen any CPS records. All those records are confidential, so that's not something we would see. But these are allegations made by family members to the media. They may very well be true, but they're not confirmed by any official documents that we've seen.
That's an important distinction,
Right.
because obviously in court, if it gets that far, you need documentation, CPS records, testimony under oath. And what we have are simply media reports of family member statements, but they do give us some context for trying to understand the dynamics of this family, as well as what might be going on with Ashlee. I mean, you're having to try to read through the tea leaves here a bit, because it's a pretty mysterious, she seems to be a relatively mysterious woman, and what she's been doing with her kid for these last several years seems unorthodox, to say the least. So I
Right.
don't know.
Right. So Ashlee's mother told the media that Ashlee and Ashlee's father have friends in the Utah, Colorado area, which may be relevant to the travel, the route that they traveled. She's also expressed concerns for Melodee's safety, and obviously she has been cooperating. I think all of the other family have been cooperating with law enforcement.
Right. So where it stands right now, there's your landscape. And, looking at all these facts, I think the obvious question on everyone's mind is, where's Melodee? Right. I mean, that's what we put on the thumbnail. Where is she? This is, and like, the thing about this is, she's old enough to use a phone, right? She's not a baby. She's not an infant. She's not a toddler.
Right.
This is a 9-year-old kid, going to be 10 in February.
She might not have a
hopefully.
phone, but if she was somewhere, someone else had a phone, or she could get
Everybody
to a
has
phone.
phones. If
Right.
if she's with anybody,
She's got access to one.
that person has a phone, because everybody on the planet has a phone. Not everybody on the planet. That's a gross overstatement, but you know what I mean. So, but one of the things that you wanted to tinker with here, in terms of the kind of the devil's advocate side, instead of just assuming the worst, which we're all prone to do, you kind of wanted to tinker with the concept. Is there a concept in which Ashlee didn't do anything illegal, that Melodee is fine, and there's some perfectly reasonable explanation? I mean,
So, babe, so at this point, we want you guys to toss up anything that you guys come to know, and or think, stuff that you can think of. So, look, we've laid out suspicious facts, but good defense attorneys and hopefully good prosecutors, frankly, always consider alternate explanations.
Dude,
So
here, listen, hit that cough button, clear your
sorry.
throat. Like I'm saying it for you. You're clearly struggling in our whatever dusty basement.
Well, my allergies have been acting up in general the
Do you
past
want me to
couple
bring
days.
you a Zyrtec?
No, that's not
You
gonna
should
help.
be
But
taking those.
I know, but that takes a while, like that.
I mean, they help. They help. I know.
Not in short anything that the only thing that helps in short order is Benadryl, and then that knocks you out.
Okay.
So
That's suspicious.
is Mandy back here?
Nope.
Oh,
It's just me.
just you.
Yeah.
All right. So so speaking of which, the standard isn't that suspicious. The standard is proof beyond a reasonable doubt once you get to court. So let's ask, are there innocent or at least less culpable explanations that could fit these facts?
If it's
So
not suspicious, could it be?
That's weird.
it's definitely both of those things.
Oh, Cardi B, you're just delightful. All right, so here's what let's try to walk through a few theories that have been floated around.
That we've been floating around.
We've been floating around, and we might see potentially down the road from a defense team, right? And look, we'll be honest about what parts fit and which parts don't. So let's start with what I think is probably the most plausible theory, and that
Alternative theory, that is.
alternative theory. Well, I mean, why does it have to be an alternative? Like, are we to assume that the nefarious is the theory?
I
Like,
mean,
it's a
no,
theory,
you're right. It's
right?
a
It's just
theory.
a theory.
Right.
So, like, and you touched upon it, that Ashlee is suffering from a severe mental illness, possibly paranoid delusions, possibly paranoid schizophrenia, possibly a psychotic break that was never properly treated after her partner's death. And in this kind of mental state, one can become convinced that Melody was in danger from some person or entity, maybe government agencies, maybe family members that she doesn't trust, maybe some perceived threat that only exists in her mind. And I'm talking about paranoid schizophrenia all the time. For those ride or dies that are with us all the time, we've told you a story about one of our fellow colleagues that we went to law school with, who was a paranoid schizophrenic. And when she got off of her meds, all of the things that come along with paranoid schizophrenia like flooded back in because of that thing that we were just talking about last night, where it's kind of an ongoing theme that people that are, being treated and it's medication that actually works in treating, that eventually the person thinks that they're okay, that they've been cured. They haven't been cured. The medicine just works, but they end up not taking their meds. They slide back into a schizophrenic state, and then everything. And for those folks, the paranoia and the schizophrenia makes everything completely reality for them. It's not reality for the rest of us, but in their mind, it's absolute reality. So in that theory, she then takes Melody on this trip to deliver her to people that she believes will keep Melody safe, possibly the friends in Utah or Colorado that her mom mentioned. And, the disguises and the fake plates weren't to hide a crime. And they were used because she wanted to hide her appearance, because she genuinely believed that someone was after them. And I mean, it's not a crazy theory. It's just not.
Right. So let's look at facts that support this theory. Ashlee's mother specifically said she suffered a drastic decline in mental health after the father's death. That's family testimony.
Mhm.
Possible past CPS involvement when Melody was a baby could indicate, instability or inability to properly. I'm going to have to cough.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, she was going through it, clearly. When you walk into a house that's in that state, when you know that you've got a child in your care that, you love, I'm sure she loves this child. And, when you are in that kind of mental distress, you're just not able to do the things that you need to do on a daily basis. It could have been one of those things where she just can't get out of bed.
Right.
I
And
mean,
like she's you know, like so all of the disguises and the fake plates can all be explained as paranoid belief that they're being watched or followed. Tearing down the missing person posters, that makes sense if she doesn't want Melody found by people she perceives as dangerous. And it also goes against, like, she did something wrong and she's trying to, cover it up, because then you want to act a little bit more normal about it and not tear down the missing posters. Refusing to tell police where Melody is makes sense if she doesn't trust authorities. Her behavior isn't necessarily covering up a crime. It could be the actions of someone who's lost touch with reality.
Yeah. I mean, all right. So I think I agree. I think all those things do fit. I mean, within that narrative. So let's look at what doesn't fit. Okay. So the first thing that I've, been kind of mesmerized and befuddled by is this trip. Okay. This trip, which is a 3,000-mile trip across 8 states, doesn't appear to be the spur of the moment trip. It appears to have been planned and organized. She rents a car. She somehow gets a false license plate from New York that she is like, okay, I'm going to slip this on so they're not catching my plate when I'm going through, tolls, things of that nature. And she travels all those miles. And that level of planning and execution is inconsistent with acute psychosis, which is usually characterized by disorganized and erratic behavior. So, because if this was a paranoid delusion, we'd typically see other signs like rambling explanations and bizarre statements and more obvious breaks from reality. Now, I don't know, and I'm assuming that they were able to interview whoever she was dealing with at the rental car agency and saying, hey, like, was this like a bizarre conversation? Did she seem normal to you? So I'm assuming that law enforcement has had these conversations. I'm assuming that based on what they were able to gather, her route was that they're trying to get video all along the way. They're trying to stop anywhere they can that they think that she may have stopped. If they've gotten her financial records, if she was using her debit or a credit card in terms of getting gas, because she had to gas up somewhere. She was stopping some places and going in and trying to see, was Melody with her? When did you see a child when she came in? Do you recall if there was a conversation that took place? Was she normal acting? So like all of these things I'm assuming are still going on in this investigation, but you would see those obvious breaks from reality. Okay. And the fact that her silence, her ability to remain silent, despite all the shit that's going on around her, okay, is actually a very controlled and deliberate act. Because if she truly believed that she was protecting Melody and placed her with some trusted friends, then why wouldn't she at least tell her own mother? Right? Like, who's been publicly pleading for that information that, look, shh, don't look, somebody's trying to get us. Like, I'm going to tell you, but you have to promise you're not going to tell anybody. She's safe. Okay. I've put her somewhere. They're after us. They're trying to get her. She's
Right,
safe.
because
Like, why isn't she telling her mom that? Unless, of course, she doesn't trust her mother.
right, and look, we both talked about this. We do believe you can have a paranoid delusion that's just in one area and you're normal in every other sense. Darn it,
Right.
hold on.
All right. So, and then I think probably the most critical aspect of kind of picking apart that theory is that if that's the case, okay, if Ashlee's suffering from a psychotic break or schizophrenia, whatever the case may be, that's an Ashlee problem. That's not a Melody problem. So if she was left again with friends, trusted friends, Melody theoretically isn't going through paranoid schizophrenia. Melody is not having a psychotic break. Melody would be saying, okay, well, my mom was acting fucking crazy.
Right,
Like,
or at least the
absolutely
friends
batshit
would,
crazy.
even if she
Well,
convinced
like, I mean,
if she convinced Melody that she was in danger, the whoever she was
okay,
with.
but then that's still coming from the child. Like, it's going to be, my mom was fucking crazy. Like, the whole ride there, she was crazy. She was talking about people chasing us, and she saw helicopters up in the sky, but I didn't say, you know what I mean? Like, ultimately, I mean, I think the friends would have picked it up, you know, if they're having a conversation, if this is in fact what happened, she's like, oh my God, you have to watch her. You have to watch her. And they're like, what the fuck? Like, what are you talking about? I'm sure that they would be aware of it as well. But I think that most of it would be coming from Melody herself in terms of my mom is not right, which again begs the question, why hasn't she surfaced? Because if that's the case, any reasonable people that know what's going on in terms of this massive, you know, child hunt for this little girl are going to be like, all right, well, we can't I'm not going to prison on this shit. We need to contact somebody and let them know that she's safe and she's here. So the fact that she hasn't surfaced to me is very, very problematic in terms of that theory being what's actually going on.
Right. And then you have the possibility that something happened along the trip, accidental death and a panic cover up, but still that doesn't quite fit because of the plate change, obviously in the beginning. And you know, some of the other behavior,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So what about the concept of maybe like they're on a road trip and there's an accidental death?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that that could have been a possibility, but this whole, you know, the fake plates beforehand and
Well,
actually, yeah,
well, that was on the return trip, right? Like I
let me
thought
go
you read
back to the chart. Let me go back to the,
I thought that was in the presser that you were reading that the plates were on the return trip.
let's see.
But still, like if you're taking a fucking trip, why are you trying to cram 3,000 miles into 3 days?
Yeah,
No.
beginning October 8th, the Malibu was observed with the New York license plate. So,
Which would be, I guess, in their minds, the return trip. Like somehow
right. So, I mean,
they
I guess it's possible that something happened, but she was observed. Don't forget, but then she was observed on the 9th. That's, you know,
right. The kid was, right.
right. So that makes the plate happen before the kid is missing.
God, yeah,
Before
and that part of it is what fucks with my brain. Like it kind of that's another thing that I didn't even think of that kind of destroys the concept of like, okay, I've gone and dropped them off with trusted friends. Well, then why is she still with you on the 9th?
right. Like what you decided on the way back to drop her with trusted friends. I mean, it's still possible that they went to do some kind of trip and then she's bringing her back on the way back, dropped her with a trusted friend, decided to,
I
you know,
wish I
who knows?
knew if she owned her own vehicle. Like, like, has anybody seen anything out there that she owned her own? Like, why rent a car if she has her own vehicle? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is a weird one, man. This is a really disturbing case. So, I mean, like, what do you think? Like, ultimately, with that concept of, you know, that something terrible happened, you know, that wasn't her fault. It was accidental, and you know, she's panicking to cover it up. Are you pretty much rejecting that one?
I was looking to see if I could find anything about whether she owned a plate, rejecting the some
Concept of like an accidental death and then like cover up.
it just seems strange because the license plate switched beforehand.
Right.
So it just
Yeah, I mean,
doesn't
well,
that
in leaving with it, right? Like presumably having that plate, you know, ahead of time,
hey,
unless
you can grab a plate at a rest stop. Be like,
can you?
sure.
Yeah, you
I mean,
think?
it'd probably be caught on
You
video in
think?
this day and
You think
age.
you get a plate off somebody's fucking car while they're taking a shit? Do you?
Well,
I
eating,
want to test this. I want to test this like the Grayson pot of water.
eating.
Next time we're at any kind of like not even a gas station. I know you're just talking about a simple pull off, right? Like a rest
Right.
area.
Right,
I wa-
or because there's gonna be cameras at all those places, so just some, you know, park, I don't know. I'm just saying I think you can do it last minute,
That's
be
some
like
panic shit though. Like you'd be freaking out. Like, are they gonna walk back up on me when I got this
right, and it
screwdriver
makes no
in?
sense to do before an accidental death, so that's why I
I mean,
can't
unless she's like a pit crew, you know, for like Formula One, NASCAR. She can really, pull that shit off real quick. And, I mean, maybe, I don't know. Seems like she had it ahead of time, but, that she found one around her neck of the woods and, was like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring this with just in case I need to go, in deep undercover. So
Right.
I don't know. That one seems less likely than the first one to me.
Yeah.
All right. You got any other theories?
Well,
I
like
have,
you said, I mean, Melody's alive with a trusted caretaker. She
yeah.
had some legitimate reason to believe Melody needed to be taken away from Lompoc, poke,
Wow,
away
you
from
lost it.
school, or
You had it.
maybe she had it. Maybe she's being bullied at school. Maybe there was some other. Maybe
She's
she was.
homeschooled. Like whatever
I thought she
interaction.
went back to school.
No, it's like that's like an independent study thing. It's like she's still homeschooled. It's like
Well,
I
maybe she's
believe.
being bullied in those groups that I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
something bad happened to her, and
that
like the
one.
kid
That one.
doesn't want to. The kid wanted to leave. Like the kid didn't want to be there. She didn't want to talk to police about it. She doesn't want anyone to know what happened to her.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't like. We need to dig a bit more into what this program is.
Yeah,
Like, because
because it did
I don't
sound
know.
like she was re-enrolled in school in August.
Yeah. What the hell is it called?
I don't remember.
Mission Valley. Mission Valley. I want to look it up. Like independent Mission Valley.
Right, but like you said, if she's being cared for by a trusted friend, this is getting to the level of like they might just call the police and be like, "Hey, she's with me. She's fine." And
Oh yeah, Mission Valley Independent Study School home. Okay, so I don't know if that means home for the website. All right, let me see. So there's in-person opportunities for students. So this is the Independent Study School, which I believe
she could have fallen victim to someone in the community
yeah.
and told her mom like she didn't want to deal with the police. She just wanted to go away, just get her out of there. She doesn't want to deal with it. And she wants to go to some friends because there was another report by a neighbor. And that was also on News Nation, that little, when we watched News Nation, that she looked like she was packing, so something traumatic could have happened to the child and she wanted to leave. And she
Well, yeah,
doesn't want to talk to cops, and she doesn't want anyone to know where she is, and she doesn't want to deal with anyone. I think that's a definite,
so this Mission Valley thing, it does appear that she would go to school. So it says in California, school attendance is required by law for students ages 6 to 18, unless you're homeschooled. But with this particular program, this Mission Valley School, and it says when your child is absent, you have 5 days to let the school know the reason for the absence. If it isn't cleared within those 5 days, it will be marked as unexcused. And I'm sure there are mandatory reporters as well. So it's one thing if you're not calling in, but if they're like hitting you up like, yo, like where the fuck is Melody?
I mean,
You're not returning their calls, and they're gonna be like, oh,
the
well,
fake plates still seem like an excessive step if that was just the issue. So
it
I don't know.
does.
It kind of just fits best with a mental health issue,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know, we've considered alternatives, theories, mental health, everything, but every one of the theories we kind of put out there requires us to ignore other evidence,
Yeah.
but there could be something.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there could be, but I mean, for me, like kind of the wigs, especially the wig for Melody, not so much for Ashlee, and the plates in place before anything could have gone wrong. That's evidence of planning to me, that it wasn't panic or an accident. And the elaborate nature of the deception really, to me, suggests that she's trying to conceal it, So I don't know. The bottom line is that we don't know whether or not Ashlee has harmed her. We just don't know that. I think we all jump to that conclusion. We always assume the worst in cases like this, which is not based on us, being pessimistic people in general, but we base it on just the sad reality of what, usually is the case in these types of situations. I mean,
Especially after Vallow.
especially after Val or like anybody, any of these kids that go missing, and it's a parent that's involved. It's like seen it over and over and over again. So,
Right.
all right, let's switch gears a bit and let's talk about some of the
Why she hasn't been arrested.
right. Why have they not gotten the cuffs on her, brought her in, and tried to grill the shit out of her? Now she theoretically is going to lawyer up. I mean, she's doing a pretty good job of not talking now. I don't know why that would change at all once she gets in custody, but who knows? Shit happens when you're in that room. So, all right, if you're the lead detective on the case or you're a prosecutor in Santa Barbara County, what are your issues? Like, what are the things? What are your impediments? Why haven't they arrested her yet?
Well, you can't confirm a crime has been committed. Yes, Melody is missing. Yes, the circumstances are deeply suspicious, but suspicious circumstance is not a criminal charge. You can't indict someone for acting weird or being suspicious. To charge Ashlee with murder, you typically need evidence that Melody is dead. To charge kidnapping, you need evidence of an unlawful taking. To charge child endangerment, you need evidence that Melody was placed in a situation that's likely to cause great bodily harm or distress. Right now, you don't have that very clear and outright.
Well, I mean, you don't, but you do have, a mother and daughter who took a road trip together. They wore wigs. They used a fake plate. The mother returns without the daughter. The mother won't say where the daughter is. And you got her out there tearing down the missing persons posters. You don't think that that's enough to charge for a crime?
Well, it's definitely enough to investigate. It's enough for search warrants, but might not be. They might think it's not enough to walk into a grand jury and get an indictment for murder or kidnapping.
Yeah. All right. So what are the other issues in your mind?
I mean, mom's Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Ashlee has a constitutional right to refuse to speak to law enforcement. She doesn't have to explain where Melody is. Not yet. We're going to get to how she could. She doesn't have to account for her actions during that 24 hours. She doesn't have to justify wearing wigs or fake plates. She can just sit in silence. And as we all know, that silence can't be used against her later.
Yeah, and I mean, that's basic Fifth Amendment stuff right there, going all the way back to Miranda, v. Arizona, and beyond. And, the prosecution cannot comment on a defendant's silence. Like Ali said, you can't say, well, she clammed up. She refused to talk to us. Can't tell the jury, notice she's never told us where her daughter is. They can't argue. If she were innocent, she'd be talking. She would have told us where she was. Can't use any of that shit. Now, of course, there are exceptions to that. Her conduct, the way that she's acting, that can be used as evidence of consciousness of guilt. And
the fact that she didn't report the child missing,
right,
that can be used. But the fact that she wouldn't cooperate with the police, that can't be used.
Yeah, I mean, the wigs, the false plates, the poster tearing down, the refusal to cooperate, all those actions, not the silence, those can be used. But her actual refusal to answer questions, it's protected under the Constitution.
Right. And, there's no body. Look, we know no body cases can be prosecuted. Scott Peterson was convicted of murdering Lacey Peterson, even though her body was so badly decomposed when it washed ashore that the cause of death couldn't be determined. And you've got, what's his name that I can't think of? No body yet, and he's been charged.
I don't know. There's a bunch of them. What's his face?
We just talked about him yesterday.
Oh, I don't know. I'm thinking of.
He did all the searching on his computer.
Oh, Brian Walsh.
Right.
I'm thinking of Zachariah.
Right.
Zachariah Anderson up in Wisconsin. I don't know that they ever discovered that dude's body. And that was a no body case. I mean, they are trying no body cases much more frequently than they ever used to in the past.
Right. And I think they had no body when Peterson was arrested, but what they had, at least in their mind, was like a clear motive, the affair, evidence of the deteriorating marriage, the fact that she was 8 months pregnant and would never voluntarily disappear. You can say the same for a 9-year-old. Scott's lies and suspicious conduct after she disappeared. I mean, the lies is a big thing. That's why staying silent actually helps you.
That's
You know,
suspicious.
computer searches about water currents, where he was claiming to be fishing. I, I don't know how horrible that was really at the end of the day, but eventually the body's washing ashore near where he had been fishing.
Right. Like in comparison, like all that shit, whether some of that's going to get picked apart with that habeas petition that we went through with you guys recently or not is yet to be determined. But it's a lot as compared to what they have here. You know, I mean, you've got a suspicious conduct during a road trip with the wigs and the fake plates. The mother obviously returning without the child is a major red flag. You know, her refusal to cooperate, tearing down the missing posters, and then of course this 24-hour mystery window where we don't know what happened. So, you know, those are significant things. It's concerning, but is it enough for a no body prosecution? Probably not. I mean, not at this point. That they've got to do a lot more digging. They're going to have to put a lot more pieces together.
They're sure as
Or-
shit gonna try before they say, "All right,
Oh,
now
hell
we
yeah.
know." Now we know
We're
this is all
trying
we-
now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, before they give up and they're like, "Okay, this is all we're gonna get. Let's go."
Yeah.
You know?
All right. So, like, here's one of the bigger issues in this case, you know, and it's the fact that it is a multi-state jurisdictional nightmare of sorts. Yes, you have the feds involved, but this trip touched at least 8 states. You've got California, Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Wyoming,
Wyoming or Kansas, and it's
yeah, maybe Kansas and Nebraska, and then back. So, you know, was there a crime? And if there was, where did it occur? So it seems like whatever that starting point where they last sight her on the 9th, like that's the starting point. So once they're able to kind of determine her route from there getting back home, like that's where you're stopping. That's where they're focusing all their attention. So if Melody was harmed in Utah, then California prosecutors don't have jurisdiction to charge on that crime. They'd have to coordinate with Utah, and Utah prosecutors would need evidence that the crime occurred within their state's borders.
Right, because you've got Utah, Nevada, and California on the trip back since her last sighting.
Right. I mean, that's, you know, and those are all relatively big states.
Right, and good luck proving where something happened when you don't even know what happened. If there's no body, no crime scene, no physical evidence, how do you establish venue? How do you prove to a jury that a crime occurred in your county, in your state? Which is, again, the fallback would have to be federal jurisdiction. You can get federal jurisdiction here, if she crossed state lines to commit a crime, to cover up to crime, kidnapping, although, they'd figure out a way to put it in. And that might be what explains their early involvement as well. Like, they're like, well, if all else fails, we're going to need to figure out how to prosecute this. But even then, you need to prove Melody was unlawfully seized, confined, kidnapped, abducted, or carried away. She was held for ransom, reward, or otherwise. She was transported across state lines. I mean, you can prove, can you prove element one? What's unlawful about her mother taking a daughter on a road trip? Tough to make the case without more.
Yeah, you and I had that little debate.
Right.
Like we were, because we were trying to figure out, we're like, okay, what could you charge her with? And, and Allie's like, what? Like, you're saying, like, if our friends drop their baby off here that, they could be charged with some shit? I'm like, well, no, not in that circumstance, because they would come to us and we say, no, there are trips, they just had the baby a year ago. They haven't been able to leave the house. They're taking a 3-day or a 4-day trip down to Mexico. We're watching the baby. They'd have that kind of answer or response. That's not the case here. Like, what we have here is a woman who is stonewalling everybody, law enforcement, family, everybody. She's not talking to anybody. It's got it's very similar to Vallow, but it's also very similar to the early stages of Gabby Petito, right? So you had these sightings, you had him show back up without Gabby, They fucking shut it down. They're not saying anything. You know, they're sitting on the house. They're waiting for this guy to go do something. Obviously, he gets out at some point because, you know, he goes to that nature preserve or wherever the hell it was, you know, but it's got a lot of those elements to it. It's similar to that case as well. And again, it was, you know, in that situation, everybody was screaming and yelling and saying, well, why the fuck aren't you arresting Brian Laundrie? Why aren't you arresting his parents? His parents have to fucking, you know, it's like, so you've got a lot of the similar things going on, except the primary difference is that obviously Melodee's a child under 18 and Gabby was not. You know, she was 18, over 18 and officially an adult according to the law. So I mean there's that one distinction, but kind of like how it's all playing out is pretty similar to that.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got the perfect storm here. You've got a missing child, an uncooperative parent, no body, no confirmed crime, no clear jurisdiction, and constitutional protections at every turn. But here's the thing, and this is why we're about to spend a lot of time on constitutional issues. The Fifth Amendment isn't just an obstacle for this case. Understanding these protections is essential to understanding why prosecutors might need to use a different strategy here. And there is one legal mechanism that could work around all these problems. But first, we need to understand exactly what constitutional protections Ashlee has. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, babe.
Yeah, I mean, the elephant in the room is obviously going to be that everyone is watching this and thinking, why can't the police just make her? Why can't they force her to tell them where Melodee is? A child's life could be at stake. Like, what the fuck? You know, doesn't that override her right to remain silent? And the answer is no, it doesn't.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. But here's why. And more importantly, here's what the law actually says about compelling someone to provide information or to produce evidence. Tell them what the Fifth Amendment's all about, babe.
So the Fifth Amendment provides that no person shall be compelled in any criminal case. So I'm going to say criminal case because we're going to get to the workaround to be a witness against himself. So obviously this is a fundamental protection, and it means that the government can't force you to provide testimony that would incriminate you in a crime.
Right. All right. So, and there's a misconception that this only applies in court during trial. That's not true. Okay. The Supreme Court has held that the Fifth Amendment protections apply at any time that the government is trying to compel testimonial evidence from your ass that could be used against you in a criminal prosecution. So that would obviously include police interrogations. That would include grand jury testimony. That would include subpoenas for documents or testimony and any kind of compelled statements. Okay.
Right. So when the police ask Ashlee, where's Melodee, and she refuses to answer, she's exercising her Fifth Amendment right. Police can't arrest her for refusing to answer. They can't hold her in any sort of contempt for refusing to answer. They can't threaten her with additional charges for staying silent.
Yeah. And here's the interesting kind of nuanced area. So the Fifth Amendment protects testimonial evidence. Okay. That is communications that convey information or assertions of fact, but it doesn't protect everything. Okay. So what the Fifth doesn't protect is physical evidence, i.e. your body, your DNA, your blood. If there's any pre-existing documents that weren't prepared specifically in response to the government trying to compel you to turn it over, or physical acts that aren't communicative in nature, like standing in a lineup or, say, for instance, providing handwriting samples.
So this distinction has led to a whole body of case law about what's called the active production doctrine. And this is crucial to understanding how a child welfare order might work. Let's say the government subpoenas you to produce documents. You have the documents. They're not privileged, but the government is essentially asking you to gather them, authenticate them by you producing them. You're implicitly saying, yes, these are the documents that you asked for, and to testify to your possession and control of them.
So, I mean, essentially, there's a case where the U.S. Supreme Court, and it's Fisher v. U.S., it was 1976. There, the court held that the act of producing documents can itself be testimonial, even if the contents of the documents aren't protected. Why? Because by producing them, you're communicating three things. One, yes, these documents exist. Two, yes, I have them. And three, yes, these are authentic documents that are responsive to what you asked me for. So those are all testimonial acts because you're conveying information to the government through your conduct, even if you're not saying, yes, these documents exist. Yes, I have them. Yes, they're authentic. Just the acts themselves are saying that.
Right. And the court in Fisher said if the act of production would be incriminating, if it would reveal information the government doesn't already have, then it might be protected by the Fifth Amendment. And then there's later cases that have gotten into this. Like in 1998, there was a case where the court held that a sole proprietor could refuse to produce business records if the act of production would be incriminating, even though the contents of the records themselves wouldn't be protected. In a 2000 case, that's US v. Hubble, the court held that forcing someone to produce documents when the government doesn't know what documents exist or where they are located can violate the Fifth Amendment because the act of production provides a roadmap to incriminating evidence.
Right. So obviously the law recognizes that even when you're not saying something, when you're not verbally testifying, that there are acts of producing something that the conduct itself can communicate incriminating information. So that makes the primary question for our case, does any of this apply to compelling a parent to produce the child?
I mean, and
Where's
the
the
answer
kid?
is
We need to see the kid.
right.
Bring the kid. I mean, like, does any of this apply to that?
And it's complicated and largely uncharted legal territory. All the cases we obviously just discussed dealt with documents and records and not dealing with people. I did some case law. I tried to do it for like 2 hours. I couldn't find a lot of what I wanted, but I did find some things. So, like with those cases not dealing with people, the case law on compelling someone to physically produce another person is thin. But there was a Supreme Court case that was directly relevant. It was a Baltimore Department of Social Services versus Bow Knight, a 1990 case, and it's the foundation for a strategy California could potentially use. So Jackie Bow Knight's infant son Maurice was adjudicated to be a child in need of assistance by the Maryland juvenile courts due to suspected abuse. The court placed Maurice in a shelter, but later returned him to his mother under a protective order, requiring Bow Knight to cooperate with social services and bring Maurice to scheduled appointments. So about 7 months later, social services couldn't locate them. They had concerns about his welfare. The juvenile court had a hearing and they ordered Bow Knight to physically produce Maurice at the next court session. She refused, asserting her Fifth Amendment privilege. She argued that producing Maurice might incriminate her if something had happened to him. But the Maryland Court of Appeals, they agreed with her and held she could refuse based on her Fifth Amendment. But then when the Supreme Court got it, and it wasn't in a unanimous decision, it was like a 7-2 decision, but the Supreme Court reversed and they said that that Bow Knight could be compelled to produce Maurice. They talked about the custodial relationship with the regulatory obligations when he accepted, or was it she? Is it the mom? Yeah. When she accepted the custody of Maurice back from the state, she did so under a court order that imposed those obligations. So that played into it. The they used like something called the required records doctrine, like people who accept holding of firearms or being corporate custodians, like they accept those roles. And she did that under this, what's not doesn't exist here, but in this case with that special order. But they also talked about the compelling state interest, which is very important here. The state's interest in ensuring the welfare of children, especially children already under court supervision due to abuse concerns. So it's extraordinarily compelling and can override the Fifth Amendment concerns in the civil child welfare context. So the court there said the order wasn't primarily designed to generate evidence against Bow Knight in a criminal case. It was designed to ensure Maurice's safety and welfare, and that's civil child protective function, not a criminal prosecutorial function.
Yeah, and there is one absolutely critical caveat, and that was written by Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, who was writing for the majority, and she said, Bo Knight may not be compelled to use the act of production to incriminate herself. The government's grant of immunity generally extends to the testimonial aspects of Bo Knight's act of producing the child, including anything that the act might communicate concerning the circumstances surrounding the child's absence from Bo Knight's home. So, what does that mean in practice?
So Bo Knight could be forced to produce Maurice or held in contempt, but the testimonial aspect of that production, the implicit communication from the act of producing him, like they won't be able to use that in a criminal prosecution. So, I mean, any physical evidence discovered later from that, any voluntary statements she made or physical condition of the child would likely be admissible. But for example, if she produces Maurice and he isn't harmed, the evidence of those and he's harmed, the evidence of those injuries could be admissible. If she produces Maurice's body and forensics shows how he did it, that could be admissible. If
How
she
he
makes
how he died, you mean, right?
right how he died. Sorry,
Okay.
I've got a cough.
Okay. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Poor thing.
And I'm out of water.
I'll go get you.
Um,
Just keep plugging along. I'll get
But
you.
prosecutors might be not able to argue the fact that she led us to the body shows she knew where it was, because that's the testimonial aspect of it. You see what I'm saying? Oh, did he leave? Yeah. So, um,
I
I
just
did-
said I'm going to get you a water.
oh, I was looking at the case. Um, so even with like that limitation that the producing the child still gives investigators enormous evidence. Like if the child's alive and well, the parents obviously vindicated. The physical evidence from if the child's deceased, obviously all the forensic stuff. The only scenario where the act of production doesn't help is if the parent truly doesn't know where the child is. And we've already discussed why that's unlikely in this case, given she disappeared in a trip with her. But at the end of the day, this Bo Knight case establishes that in certain circumstances, the child welfare context, a parent can be compelled to produce despite the Fifth Amendment concerns. But again, that was all in the civil context. So there's important differences, very important differences with Bo Knight. The child was already a dependent child under an active juvenile court supervision with a protective order in place. Obviously, that's not the case here. Bo Knight had explicitly agreed to cooperate with the welfare authorities when she took the child back, when they gave the child back. Ashlee hasn't made an agreement, but she is a parent and she's got, normal parental rights and obligations. Again, there's no existing order here, where Bo Knight violated by not bringing Maurice to the appointments. California doesn't have any existing order here requiring that Ashlee produce anything. And, Bo Knight was decided in 1990, and the Fifth Amendment jurisprudence has evolved since then. Cases like that 2000 case that I spoke about earlier have arguably strengthened protections around the act of production doctrine. So if California wanted to use a Bo Knight style approach, they would, basically just follow what happened in Lori Vallow. I mean, we saw it happen in Lori Vallow. That is what happened there. So if they file a dependency petition in California and they argue that Melody is a dependent child at risk of harm, and then they get the juvenile court to consider all the evidence and basically enter an order that she's got to come. She's got to produce the child. And then if she refuses, they can hold her, in contempt. Obviously, the any good lawyer is going to argue. Hold on one sec. Oh shit. Wow, guys. Sorry. I took myself off stage instead of just turning off my camera. So let's see. Where was I? What was I saying before that? So I was just going through what the state could do in this case, and it would start with them going to the juvenile court and getting an order from like the California welfare under the California Welfare and Institutional Code to say that Melody is a dependent child at substantial risk of harm, and have them enter an order that compels Ashlee to produce Melody. And then if she doesn't, they could hold her in contempt of court. Obviously, the court would argue the defense would argue all these distinctions that we talked about in Bonite, but this prosecution is going to argue the state has a compelling interest in ensuring Melody's welfare that overrides Fifth Amendment. You've got a 9-year-old who's been missing for weeks. This is exactly the kind of emergency that Bonite was designed to address. And even though this parent didn't, accept an agreement, a parent has like an inherent obligation to their children, independent of a court order. And that would be a civil child welfare proceeding. It would not be a criminal proceeding. And also they would argue that it's not testimonial, obviously. So, I mean, this would create a lot of issues, but this brings us right back to what happened in the Vallow case. So in September of 2019, you had two children, the 7-year-old Joshua J.J. Vallow and 17-year-old Tylee Ryan, who disappeared in Idaho. Their mother, Lori Vallow, when police conducted a welfare check after JJ's grandmother reported concerns, the children were gone, and Lori and her husband at the time, Chad Daybell, were refusing to cooperate. So if you followed that case, that was like a huge thing. Where are the children? They kept doing calls. They kept making welfare checks. They would not answer where the children were. Oh, my children are fine. You don't need to worry about it. But they also did lie. So in December of 2019, the police publicly announced the children were missing. And by January 2020, that's when Lori and Chad had been located in Hawaii, living in a resort. No children, no explanation for their whereabouts. So what did the Idaho authorities were facing the exact same problem we're discussing? Missing children, uncooperative mother, essentially exercising her Fifth Amendment right, no bodies, no confirmed crimes, no way to force her to talk. So what they did there is the Madison County Prosecutor's Office filed a child protection action on behalf of JJ and Tylee under Idaho's Child Protective Act.
That's a good workaround. So, right. The one thing that I just wanted to talk about briefly is while I'm off, you guys actually get to see who the true tech wizard is in this family. And it's my beautiful wife. She's the real tech wizard. So, all right. So because the child protection cases are sealed and confidential under Idaho law to protect family privacy, we'll never have the full petition. But
I tried to look for it, but
it doesn't exist. I mean, it's like if Ali and I are handling a juvenile case, the way they handle it here in Illinois is even as attorneys, like we are out of the courtroom until the court bailiff or court clerk comes out and calls us when our client's case is getting called. So it's that serious in terms of protecting the confidentiality of the children that are involved. So it's serious shit. But based on public statements from like the Madison County prosecutor and the court's public order, we know that the petition alleged that the children had been missing since September of 2019, that law enforcement had been unable to verify their safety or their well-being, and that Lori refused to disclose their location, and that Lori had lied to the investigators about their whereabouts, and that there was reason to believe that the children were at a substantial risk of harm. And therefore, the court needed to take jurisdiction in order to ensure their safety.
Right. And remember, we're talking about a civil proceeding in juvenile court.
That's very important to remember that distinction.
Right. Because the burden of proof is a preponderance of the evidence. It's more likely than not. So what? 51%. That's way different than what you're trying to do in a criminal case, even though you're trying to just prove initially, you know, that you've got probable cause to arrest somebody. The prosecutor, everyone's still looking to eventually we've got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, you know. And again, they cannot force her to say where her kids are by way of a police investigation. So there, given that the children had been missing for months and Lori wouldn't say where they were, you know, meeting the burden there was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and ultimately, the juvenile court there issued an order with very, very specific language, and this is directly from the order. It says, quote, Lori Vallow must physically produce Joshua J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan to the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare in Rexburg within 5 days of being served with this order. The order explicitly also stated failure to comply with this order may subject Lori Vallow to civil or criminal contempt of court.
So she was
And what
eventually
happened next? We
she
all
was
know what
event
happened next.
right, she was eventually served with that in Hawaii, and she had the 5 days. She didn't. The deadline passed, and that's what she was initially arrested for. That's what Lori was in jail for when they had the phone call wherein what happened, babe?
So
What did he say? Tell us about the conversation between Lori and Chad while Lori was in jail.
they're searching. They're searching.
So that's why Lori was in jail during that conversation.
They're
When the
searching.
cops were at Chad Daybell's residence searching for the bodies.
They're
She was in
searching.
jail. She was in jail for refusing to produce the children.
Yeah, and they ended up charging her with 2 felony counts of desertion and non-supportive dependent children. And that is Idaho's felony child abandonment statute, which that in and of itself carries up to 14 years in prison per count. She was also charged with contempt of court, which is a misdemeanor for willfully disobeying the court order to produce the kids. And she, of course, was arrested for resisting or obstructing the officers, which was another misdemeanor, and then criminal solicitation for asking a friend, who we all know, to lie, which was Melanie, that like not Melanie, for asking a friend to lie about JJ's whereabouts. That was the movie thing. You guys remember the movie thing?
Right.
We went to go see a movie. We're at a movie.
Right. I mean, at first she would have just been like, because they
Their
waited 3
bail,
weeks.
by the way, was set at $5 million on that shit.
Right. And I mean, they waited 3 weeks. Oh, right. They took him 3 weeks to arrest her, but she could have just been, you know, held in contempt of court until she told, you know.
Yeah.
But she wasn't doing anything. So, you know, that's what's good about a contempt case is they only need to show there was a valid court order, and in that case that Lori had noticed, she was served, and that she violated. That's it. They didn't need to prove what happened to JJ or Tylee. They didn't need to prove that she killed them. They didn't need to prove where they were. They just needed to prove the court ordered you to produce the children, and you didn't, you know. So I mean, at the end of the day, if you say, Your Honor, I can't produce them because I don't know where they are. I wish I could. I've been looking for them. I want my children back more than everything. Here's what I know. And they give an explanation. You know, that would be different. You know?
Yeah, and you know, so there was kind of like an interesting quote from Tad DiBiase, who was the former homicide prosecutor who analyzed the case at the time, and it goes with what we're talking about here, because what he said was it's actually very clever because it forces the parents' hands. Parents who have not done something to their kids are not going to violate a court order. So in that sense, it was very powerful. And think about that logic. I mean, if you're a parent and your children are genuinely missing through no fault of your own, and a court orders you to produce them, what are you going to do?
Right. So, you know, look, we're bringing up Lori Vallow case to suggest that Ashlee Buzzard's case could end the same way. We don't know what happened to Melody, so we can use Vallow as like a real world example of what they could do here.
Right. It's the workaround.
Right. It's the workaround.
It's a loophole.
It obviously the advantage is that the lower burden of proof, like we said, it's an immediate enforcement mechanism, and it forces a choice: either produce the child or face consequences. Either outcome provides valuable. Ah! Oh my God. What? You just gave me a heart attack.
What the fuck is going on?
Jesus. Babe, you tell the people how that can be used in California.
That's scary.
Wow. All right. So, look, and if I'm that parent, if I have that court order, and I'm hauled in front of the judge, I'm saying some shit like I can't produce them because I don't know where they are. I wish I could. I've been looking for them. I want my children back more than anything in the whole world. Here's what I know. And then
Right. We kind of talked about that.
yeah, I mean, kind of, but not really. But the only reason that you refuse to comply with the court order to produce the children is if you know you can't produce them and you know why you can't. All right. So.
All right. I'll let the people know how we can use the California strategy in the same way here.
Okay.
So you've got California welfare code. They've got their codes are very similar to what they used in Utah. You have section 300B that a child has suffered or substantial risk the child will suffer serious physical harm due to the parent's failure to supervise or protect. You've got G, a child has been left without provision for support. And the Santa Barbara County Protective Services could file a dependency petition alleging Melody is at substantial risk. With the facts that we've discussed, the disappearance, the suspicious circumstances, Ashlee's refusal to disclose her location, they could easily meet the burden of preponderance of, a preponderance of the evidence.
Yeah.
And because you do have
Agreed.
all the same things here. You have, if you go to the court and you say, look, she's been, the school reported her, she had this prolonged unattended attendance. We attempted to locate her and made several attempts to do a home to check on her welfare, and she is not there. We know mom traveled with her, came back without her. Mom wore a disguise, changed the license plate. Like all of that is very much in line. The only thing they had more in Vallow was that she lied. They didn't even have this extra, which is kind of the equivalent to you're wearing wigs and you're changing a license plate. Something suspicious happened. So it begs the question, why hasn't California done this yet?
I mean, we don't know. But it could be that they're still building the evidence and they want to have a stronger case before they make this move, that they're concerned about the constitutional challenges and they want to avoid losing it on appeal. They believe that they're close to filing criminal charges directly and they don't need to take this step. There are strategic and resource considerations that maybe we're not aware of. Again, we're dealing with 8 states, theoretically, at least 3 for sure, from the time of the 9th when they last see her to the states she traveled through. And they've assessed that they've given the differences from Bow Night and that the legal risk is too high. But the fact of the matter is that this tool exists. There's precedent for it and it's available if the prosecutors decide to use it. How long are they going to wait?
Right.
I'm surprised, frankly. I don't know who else has covered this. It doesn't seem like anybody's covering this. I'm not seeing it all over my Twitter feed. I'm kind of at a loss why this case hasn't picked up steam nationally.
Yeah.
It's weird to me, to be honest with you. I don't get it. I didn't know about it until either Allie or Tracy or Mandy sent one of the 3 sent the thing to our group text. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on with this case? And it's been going on a month. And I hadn't heard at all. And granted, when we're sucked into something and we're covering specific things, it's easy for things to kind of whiz by me without me knowing. But, I'm on Twitter a lot, and for me to have not seen anything
right. Yesterday I was like, babe, there's a 9-year-old girl missing. She's been missing for a really long time. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, look at this News Nation thing.
Yeah.
And then we
Crazy.
started trying to dig in and dig up as much as we can, and it's hard. There's not, there's not that much out there. And I think, you know, they could be very well preparing to go in, on this type of order, requesting this type of order soon. But we don't know. But here's what we do know about. There's those 3 searches. So there were multiple search warrants issued so far. You had that October 15th of Ashlee's residence. That was one day after Melody was reported missing. You had the October 30th again of the residence, but you also had a storage locker and the rental car. And there might have been others that were not aware of. So, at the residence, obviously they're going to be looking for any physical evidence of violence, signs of struggle, cleanup efforts, blood, Melody's belongings to determine what's missing, what's present. Remember, when they did the search at Lori Vallow's, there's no kid stuff. There's no kids' clothes. There's no kid toys. There's no evidence that a child has anything to do with this household. That
Now, do we
obviously.
know if they were so we don't even know if they were able to get her devices.
You mean Melody's?
Yeah.
There is a video. If you want to look real quick, you can search it. It's like search warrant executed at Ashlee Buzzard's house, and we can pull it up because I think we saw some of the stuff that they were pulling out, but we might not have. But neighbors have been pulling out their phones. Like I said, there was a neighbor who said she's packing stuff up. She's packing up boxes. Maybe she's planning to move. But they're definitely looking for electronic devices. I can't imagine that might have been what the second search, why they had to do it again. A second search. There were computers, there were devices.
I can't imagine they want anything more.
Right. That's the number one thing that they want. Any documents, they're going to look for receipts or maps or notes, things like that. Any evidence of planning or premeditation, again, like cleaning supplies, stuff like that. But now a storage locker. So something must have either they saw a key for a storage locker in that search. That very well could be it, that they saw a key for a storage locker in that search. So then they said, now we need to search this storage locker. And maybe they're
I've seen there's a few long ones from Court TV, like Vinny's got one. Like, did you see a shorter one? Like News Nation has one that's 18 minutes.
No, I saw one that was quick.
There's one it's a new twist and urgent search for 9-year-old. It's a minute 36.
You could try that.
There's also additional search warrants served during search for Melody. So let's watch this one. It's 3 minutes. I'll pull this one up. All right, because this is I think it's a local station. So let me pull this puppy up, see what up with this. Okay. Breaking news. All right.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. You're watching KSBY News at 6. I'm Leslie Molina filling in for Richard Gearhart. We begin tonight with breaking developments on the investigation into missing 9-year-old Melody Buzzard. Right now, Santa Barbara County Sheriff's detectives and FBI agents are at the girl's home of the girl's mother serving new search warrants. Authorities blocked off a portion of her home on Mars Avenue in Vanderburg Village just hours ago. Melody was first reported missing on October 14th after Lompoc school officials noticed her prolonged absence. Officials with the Sheriff's Department say her mother, Ashlee Buzzard, has been uncooperative with the investigation into her daughter's disappearance. Our community reporter, Crystal Bermudez, has been following the search for Melody for weeks. She joins us now live with the latest from Vanderburg Village. Crystal?
That's right, Leslie. Right now, I'm here along Mars Avenue in Vandenberg Village. And like you mentioned, the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department, alongside the FBI, conducted a follow-up search warrant. Since I've been here, we have been seeing some activity going on. We've been hearing some cameras going off. We've also seen the lights in the garage go on as well. And the investigators right now have been going in and out of the home. I'm going to go ahead and step out of the frame just so you can see some of the activity we've been seeing, as well as CSI that is here right now. I did ask what exactly is being conducted in a much thorough search warrant like this one, but I wasn't able to get much details. But investigators say this is a secondary, more detailed search as they continue to look for clues in what remains a missing person case. Ashlee was temporarily moved from the home as detectives executed the warrant. She has not been detained or arrested, but I'm going to go ahead and show you just what spokesperson Raquel Zix mentioned earlier and what goes into an investigation like this.
We're doing multiple searches, and that we're utilizing our partners at the FBI that have some really, great equipment, training, experienced people, all of those things. We're coming at this investigation with from every angle and with everything that we have access to.
And like I mentioned, I was here earlier this morning. I did see those detectives here on scene relocating Ashlee Buzzard. Raquel also mentions to me that they are aware that this case has now become a national story, and they are surveilling the area, making sure that both Ashlee and neighbors remain safe. As of right now, there are no further developments in the ongoing investigation involving Melodee, but Raquel did mention to me this is part of it, what we're seeing behind me right now. Again, to get every angle into finding Melodee Buzzard. I'll continue to bring you more developing updates as they become available. But for now, I'll send it right back to you.
Okay, so that didn't really tell us shit. Yeah, I mean, and I saw that a question in the chat was like, didn't they bring her in? I'm sure they've tried to question her. I mean, she's stonewalling them. Like, I mean, that's why we went through all this. She's asserting her fifth. She's not saying shit. It's like she's following the rule. The rule is you never say shit to law enforcement. So, I mean, it's like we can't have it both ways. The fact of the matter is it's hard for us to, when there's a child missing, we want fucking answers, and we feel like we deserve answers, which was kind of the entire point of us going through this exercise on what the workaround is here. Because we think that this thing that we're talking about that they did with Vallow is a pretty effective workaround. It's going to force her hand, if even to just get her into custody. Because if the judge is going to say, produce the child, that's what you have to do. Produce the child. If you don't produce the child within 5 days, we could hold you in contempt of court. And if they hold her in contempt of court, then they throw her ass in. They charge her with various crimes, starting with contempt of court and then moving down, through whatever they feel like they can get her on. So,
here's something News Nation did on it.
Okay.
But I got this on, I think this is Facebook, which is annoying as shit. So I don't know.
Why didn't you just go to their shit?
For evidence. And they brought her back many hours later. According to a neighbor, the agents stayed inside the house with her for another 30 minutes and then went on their way. The house by then, however, was vastly different. That neighbor tells us exclusively that the agents took out 2 large bags of evidence, yellow bags, also removed carpet and drywall, and it appears they tore up the concrete in the garage. And that wasn't the only search warrant executed last night. The feds also searched a storage locker and the rental car that Melodee was last seen in. Ashlee Buzzard, needless to say, is stonewalling. Not just the investigators, but Melodee's relatives on her dad's side. Her dad died back in 2016 when she was just a baby. But worse than that, Ashlee now seems determined to sabotage the search for her own daughter. Earlier this week, she was caught on camera ripping down her own daughter's missing posters from the front yard. Look at this video. This makes 0 sense. My next guest knows all about what the FBI does when a child goes missing and start flipping a house.
Not happening.
Oh no.
Not on these here lives.
Wrong channel. We're not going to have coffin daffer on there.
But that, I mean, is pretty interesting. They're pulling up the ground. They're putting, I hadn't
make
seen
any
that.
sense. Like, it doesn't seem like whatever happened to her happened at the house because
Right.
they saw her on the 9th. Unless she
they
makes
think
it all the way back,
right.
and then something happens once she returns, and she did that whole thing as a fucking ruse. Like, oh, like I'm gonna take this road trip as a
Yeah.
ruse where I'm gonna do the dastardly deed here. That'll throw them way off the track. They won't be looking here. They won't be certain. You know what I mean? It's like that's the only thing that I can think. I mean, they have to do it. Like they're gonna have to do all that shit just to be thorough. In the event that she was doing it as a ruse in order to try to throw them off the scent in terms of what really happened to her and where it happened. Maybe she wants them to spend all their time and resources looking in other states where, in fact, she got her back here. But I mean, short of her pulling into the garage, which I'm assuming that she might have, but like, I don't know. It's a tricky thing.
Yeah. Well,
So
so they could be looking for, like, I think I put up someone's comment that the storage locker's a hotbed. And obviously the rental car, that's going to be the most critical, looking for DNA evidence of blood,
yeah,
tissues or signs of violence, any kind of trace evidence that deals with that. Like Bob said, obviously her hair and her fibers are supposed to be there, but is there soil? Is there blood? Is there tissue? GPS data is obviously huge.
yeah,
And I'm sure they've got cadaver dogs,
yeah, for sure.
searching as well.
Yeah, I think the problem with the rental is going to be the fact that she returned it 20 days
Yeah.
before they actually did the search. So, obviously they didn't get access to the vehicle immediately. That car probably went out multiple times to different people. So, I mean, that's compromised for certain. But I mean, nonetheless, if there was an effort to clean, they'll be looking obviously for her using cleaning products or somebody using cleaning products beyond what the rental car company would typically use when they're cleaning the cars upon the return. So, obviously they'll probably use forensic luminol testing in order to try to determine whether or not there is any kind of biologicals in there. And, like you said, in terms of the soil, they'll check the wheels, they'll check the undercarriage, they'll check the floor mats, because soil compositions do vary by region. And if you're listening to Buried, the inside the John Wayne Gacy investigation, that was
got bupkis back then from
right.
the soil.
Like back then when they were trying to, have them say, okay, look, we've got some soil that we were able to get from Gacy's vehicle, and they brought it to, I think, somebody down in Champaign, down at the University of Illinois. And they're like, look, and the dude's like, yeah, here's the problem. We need to know where that came from in order to tell you if it's a match. So that was like, they wouldn't be like at that time. And of course that was 1979. They weren't able to do that kind of thing. I don't know if the science has changed on that. I would imagine that it would, but I'm not going to make some kind of giant leap there and say that they can do it, because I don't know offhand whether or not they can.
Right.
So, what else are they going to look for? I mean, obviously the big one is going to be the cell phone data, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure. They probably already got all of that.
I mean, it's like you kind of thought I was talking about Melodee's, like her tablets or whatever she might have. I was like, do you think, have they been able to get Ashlee's devices?
I'm sure that they have. I mean, that would be, like you said, the number one thing they'd be looking for.
I mean, either way, they can subpoena her shit. Like, even if they can't get the physical device, you're going to get.
I'm sure they got the physical device.
Yeah, but what is the law in California in terms of being able to force their way into that device if she's refusing to give them like the passcode, if it's passcode protected?
They can, if they get a warrant, they can hack it.
But I mean, we don't know if they got a warrant for the devices yet.
I'm just assuming that they would have that, and then California is where the big case actually on digital data came out of. So I would expect them to be more confined to certain areas. It's not going to be like you can search for years worth of data, but the weeks before, the weeks after, and the time between, I can definitely see them being able to get that.
Yeah.
Especially when you have an urgent, an exigent issue of a missing child and mom's not cooperating. I think that's definitely going to help them, get a warrant.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So
I mean, theoretically, what do you think she could be charged with?
I mean, obviously, even if she's found fine, there still could be some kind of child endangerment charge, depending on what, maybe some kind of, who knows? Who knows? If she's hindering the investigation, but her silence, they can't charge her with hindering the investigation with her silence.
Yeah, because that's that part where like you need the lie, kind of.
Right. But if Melody's like, I didn't want to go, my mom just dropped me, she could get, interstate flight, some kind of interstate flight with the feds. I mean, who really knows? But
that's if she's alive, right? I mean, obviously, if God forbid she's not alive, that's probably going to lead, obviously, to some level of a murder charge. First, second
obviously,
degree,
yeah.
all the way down to voluntary or involuntary manslaughter, depending on what happened. Like if she spills, like if they find her and she gives it up, then that'll dictate what they're going to charge her with. But
Right.
what happens if they never find a body? But
I think they might eventually
deceased.
bring it. I think they
Yeah.
might take their chances.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing that they do in other cases. Like, she can't just disappear off the face of the earth. You have
Right.
to assume that she's,
Right.
I mean, back in the day, it used to be no body, no crime.
Right. Well, because if you try to think about how that fucking thing would play out, like say for instance, Ashlee is going through some kind of mental distress, like she's got some kind of mental illness, and they're like, okay, you know what? Here's the deal. We're charging you. We believe that Melody is no longer alive, and we are charging you with her homicide. And they bring her in, and she's acting off, and then they evaluate her psychologically, and they get her on medication, and then she comes to, and she's like, oh my God, like this is what happened, or you know what I mean? So it's like it could happen to where if she's taken into custody, if she is in fact in some kind of mental distress, and she receives treatment, and then she comes to the realization that this thing happened, I don't know how that would play out.
I mean, that could help her for sure.
Yeah.
That could help her for sure. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the facts of Melody's disappearance, alternate theories, we tried to go through them, who knows, but you've got this 9-year-old missing, and yeah, the cops, we went through this procedure they could make to at least force her to talk, but there could be a lot of reasons why they're not using that just yet. Maybe they're in the process of doing it, but maybe they just want to keep her out, keep an eye on her, and hope she's going to reveal something either to someone else or to them. So it could just be like, hey, we don't want to take a chance of her, us going in on a civil, like a civil order to produce the body, and then we get stuck in some trick bag where some, we get evidence through that extreme and we're not able to use it at a criminal trial. I mean, that would be fucking horrible.
Yeah.
They might think that, that they're on their way. Like, there's a lot of other avenues that you'd want to try before you tried that, because of the risk that something might not be usable in a criminal case.
Right. Like, you don't want to cut your legs off if, because they're still going through a lot of investigation. And like you said, we've got like multiple states here, and they're trying to hit up and get every video that they can from every business along that route, which is time and manpower, and then once they can kind of start figuring out the places that she may have stopped, obviously you're having to interview all these witnesses. Just the weird thing to me, and Banfield's like, oh, well, this is a national case. Well, you could have fucking fooled me, because like where are the people, like, from the coming out from the woodwork, like, oh yeah, I saw them, oh yeah, like, I mean, they had to stop. There
was someone, damn it,
it's like one person that I've read.
but there was someone else more recently. Now I can't remember what happened, that came forward and said they thought they saw her.
Yeah, with a wig on, right? Like,
yeah,
wig on. Yeah, but that's it. Like that's it. Like, and we're talking about a 3,000-mile
Hey, if
trip.
you're staying in your car most of the time and just like running in to grab snacks, maybe she's going in to use the bathroom, you're not paying attention to the people you see,
Yeah, and the problem was that there wasn't a bolo like that I'm aware of.
No, there was just this 24-hour period. That's the critical window,
Yeah.
and, but if you're out there and you do have information, if you saw her, Ashley, during that road trip, you think that you did, you've got to call the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office or the FBI. Even the smallest detail is crucial. I know I put it up before. I don't know where I have it now.
It's probably still in the banners, right?
No, I didn't put it in a damn banner. I put it in just like a regular chat. Well, let's go through some of the questions that we've got, and I'll look for it. I'll
Okay.
just pull it up again, actually, now that I think about it.
Okay. Let's see. So Gypsy Soul Astro Photos had said, my daughter's dad went through some sort of break from reality when she was about 9, to the point that when she came back from spring break with him, she was worried about him, and I had to intervene a bit. So yeah, I mean, it's a distinct possibility. I mean, like the way that she's acting in terms of like, she can't think that the long game on this is going to work out in her favor. You know what I mean? Like there's no way that this thing is ever going to land in a way that's favorable for her unless Melody shows up. Like if Melody never shows up, like this approach is not going to work, you
Right.
know? So it's just not like there's never going to be a positive outcome for her ever. And the thing that I just keep getting stuck on is like what you said. If she was left with somebody, there's no fucking way that somebody or a couple of people, trusted friends, are sitting out there knowing that this shit is going on and just sitting silent. Like, because they're sucking themselves into the thing. Like, no, like who's signing up for that?
Right.
This isn't like, these aren't family members. These are like homies, trusted friends. Well, trusted friend or not, like you're trying to suck me into like this huge missing persons case. They're spending huge amounts of money and they're going to be looking for heads to roll. Like if we had her and we didn't come forward, we're fucked. Like I'm not down with it. Sorry, and I'm making the call and being like, oh, all right, well, hey, sorry. Here you go. So yeah, it's wild. It's wild. So I don't know that we had any actual questions. I'll go through Living Story Worlds, member for 19 months. Am given someone rental video, tells me no rip. Yeah, I mean that's where I'm at with it too. See, like I could completely buy the mental distress, the mental illness side of it, but the rest of it just doesn't fit really very well with me, at least. Thank you for being a member for so very long.
Yes.
And that's formally Kraken, right? That's you, Kraken. And when we're Debbie, I am loving Bob and Ali After Dark. Yeah.
We talked about it. He's like, God, it's so late. And I was like, well, we could save it for Felonious Friday, but that's like, we wanted to cover it more in depthly. We wanted to explain to you guys what the workaround is and why they might not be doing it yet.
And Weird Debbie's been a member for 8 months. We love you, Weird Debbie. And I don't think you're all that weird, to be honest with you. Lily B, member for 19 months. And OG,
Wow.
I'm glad y'all are covering Melody's case. Yeah, so am I. I'm glad that Ali brought it to my attention because I had no clue that poor little girl is missing. So we felt it was incumbent upon us to get it out there to the world, to let all those of you that were unaware of it to be aware of it. What do you think? That's Lucy Ferry, Lucy Ferry. So gifted 1 DD podcast membership. Lucy, if I'm butchering your name, I apologize, but we thank you for your generosity and your donation. And history and homicide, ride or die, gifted 1 DD podcast membership as well. Thank you.
Always generous.
H&H, we love you. And then finally, Bayra 86, member for 2 months. We love that. Binge listened to Buried. Need the next episode soon. Saturday, episode 11. 10's a banger. 10's a
Yeah.
banger. It dropped today. If you're not listening to it and you watch this channel, I'll never understand it.
Shame on you.
Like it's like not even shame. Like I don't get it.
Right.
You just have to trust us that it's a fucking awesome podcast. It's like it's bizarre to me. It's like I'm sure there are people who are like, I don't listen to podcasts, so it's worth it. It's worth it. There's times when you're driving when I don't know what you're doing, but what you could be doing is listening to an awesome podcast. Like, for instance, I'm listening to like a 44-minute episode and it feels like
20.
17 minutes, or like 20.
I'll
It's
go
weird.
17.
I'll go 17.
I'm always upset when it's ending.
Right. Because it's like,
And I've already heard it once.
it's like those movies where you go to and you're like, holy shit, that was 2.5 hours. It felt like 45 minutes because it was good. Like that's how this podcast is. It's like, I think anybody that's listening will attest that the episodes seem to go really fast. And that's usually a pretty good indication that it's a pretty good podcast. So again, you guys check it out. Please. It's called Buried Inside the John Wayne Gacy investigation. If you don't know, my dad was his lawyer. He gave me all his taped interviews with Gacy. We infused those through a 33 and 3-part incredible investigation that we did on that case. We talked to everybody that we could find under the earth, the cops, the lawyers, victims that survived, people that took the famous clown pictures, everybody. It's an unbelievable journey, and it's the deepest dive that's ever been taken on that case. And it's no Gacy fanboy bullshit. We really focus on the victims, the investigation, the arrest, and the trial. So check that out. Make sure
Buried
you do that.
Inside the John Wayne Gacy investigation.
Yes, do it. All right, y'all. We love you. We will be back tomorrow for Felonious Friday. There has been a lot of shit going on this week. We will try to cover all the news that's fit to print tomorrow in terms of what's been going on in the crazy world known as true crime. So, mods, we love you. We adore you. We thank you as always. Mandy and Tracy, we love you 1,000 times over. And to you guys, all you beautiful, beautiful human beings, make sure you please minimize the chat, like it on the way out. If you're a replay crew, please leave a comment in there that helps get it in the algorithm. You can see if a video has a ton of comments in there, it tells YouTube, okay, this is getting some action. This is worth putting out there. Because really the things that do the best for us is always the Karen Reed stuff. It's like anything Karen Reed or Karen Reed adjacent is always the things that do the best. And I don't know that that's our best coverage of things. We cover some really, really interesting, important things that aren't Karen Reed or Karen Reed adjacent that we think are worth your time. So please like, share, subscribe. If you really love us, become a member. We love that so much. It means so much to our channel when you guys become a member. We're actually, I'm not going to even say it because we haven't figured out how to do it yet, but we're trying to see if we can tinker a bit with the memberships in case that there's like a lowering of a level, in case there's some people that are tight on cash with the holidays coming in. They're like, well, I'd like to be a member, but I just can't afford it. We're going to try to hook you up with that. So we love you guys so much, because without you guys, I would literally just be an old man.
Talking about a lot of cases.